Welcome to the Friday vlog here at the Order of Eden. Today I want to talk about a topic that's been on my mind lately, and I'm calling it the rise of fake introverts. Here's what I mean. I'm not trying to do some sort of weird competition like, ooh, this person's the real introvert, this one's the fake introvert. This is a problem for all of us. Introverts, extroverts, we're all having problems. And let's just dig into it. I hope you'll see what I mean. We're going to get into some definitions, a little bit of neurochemistry. Not much, though. I was going to do a whole video on neurochemistry, but nope, not touching it. Don't know enough, don't understand enough. I know enough to be functional. So, all right. One problem right off the bat. When you Google define introvert, you get a shy, reticent person. Really? Like that's Google, that's the best you got? All right, and then extrovert, an outgoing, overly expressive person. Yeah, so these types of definitions are so simplistic and silly and, man, they're just really not on point. If I have to hear one more person say that introverts are shy, like that's what it's like a shy, quiet person. No, that's not what an introvert is. Introverts don't have to be shy. Extroverts don't have to be confident. There's a lot going on there. So, with zero scientific accuracy, with different... There, thought I saw a light turn on. It didn't. I'm good. With zero psychological accuracy, one of the best definitions I've heard to differentiate introvert and extrovert is basically how you personally recharge. If, after a long day, if you would rather go and read a book to get your kind of vitality back, you're probably an introvert. If you would rather go out to dinner with a bunch of friends or go to a party, you're probably an extrovert. That is also wildly overly simplistic, but I think that's a little better because there's nothing wrong with either. You know, some people also have a view where like, oh, the introvert is quiet, unexpressive, they just aren't going to talk to people. Like basically that extrovert is good and introvert is bad. And that's definitely not the case. There's nothing wrong with either. They're just different. And it's about, I don't know, a lot. I don't know if it's how you're wired, if just what brings you pleasure. I don't know. Okay. So, for example, I am an introvert who isn't shy. Okay. Take these videos, for example. I am doing the total introvert thing and I am filming this by myself in an empty room. And that's how I've done every single video that I've been doing since this began in January. But I'm obviously not shy because I have no problem putting myself out on social media 3 times a week since January. I am an introvert. I like to go camping by myself for several days. Most people don't do things by themselves for several days, especially doing something where they can't have a TV in front of them. But I go camping for several days, and I'm also not afraid to speak publicly because that's kind of what I do and kind of what I'm signing up for. So I like to be by myself. I'm definitely an introvert in that respect. I'm by myself constantly in my work, sing publicly for church. But then I also have, you can be a lot of different things. I know many extroverts, many people who would rather be out to dinner, would rather be at a party, be at an event, who are terrified of public speaking. So these are not mutually exclusive things. I think introvert versus extrovert, the more useful idea is kind of how do you personally recharge? It's not a technical term, not a technical phrase. That seems to make more sense to me. Okay, so let's get to the title. The rise of fake introverts. What do I mean by this? So when we talk about introverts, let's say as an introvert you like to recharge by yourself. I would say that there's a difference between introversion and isolation. Introversion and isolation are not the same thing. And this actually affects both personality types, whether you be an introvert or an extrovert or anywhere on that scale. Isolation is not the same thing. Let me tell you what I mean. So as someone who would call themselves an introvert, I still need human contact. I still have friends, I still maintain friendships, I have family, we still do family type stuff. Just because I often like to be off by myself doesn't mean that I need to be totally alone by myself at all times. If I did, I would go insane. I've actually been able to sort of dial in exactly how much socializing I need so that I don't lose my mind, okay? Because whether you like it or not, humans are very social creatures. Okay, so the problem with an introvert per se is that, let's say I need to socialize twice a week outside of my household to sort of feel, human. It would not be super difficult in the 21st century to, instead of going out twice that week, watch nothing but Netflix for those 2 days after work and not quite notice that you haven't actually had a human need met. All right, and here's the thing with extroverts as well. So you can be an extrovert. You can be someone who actually needs people to feel recharged, to feel like yourself, but then you could substitute people for people on your computer screen. So, for example, someone who will say, "Oh, I'm such an introvert, I just stayed at home all weekend watching Netflix." No, you're not an introvert, you're just distracted. See, and this is detrimental for both sides, whether you are a true introvert or a true extrovert. We have so many things in our day and age that can simulate close enough to the same things that human interaction triggers in us that we don't realize that we think we're fine being distracted, but we're actually slowly dying. We need to talk a little bit about dopamine. Dopamine is your major feel-good hormone, if you can put it that way, and I want to revert to Psychology Today, okay? I'm reading an article from Psychology Today that says dopamine is triggered when you get a new reward. All right, this is the feel-good chemical, like when you cross something off your to-do list, if you're a to-do list person like myself. When you see a finish line, your brain releases dopamine. It's nature's reserve tank of energy. Dopamine keeps you going until you catch the prey you've been stalking, even when the chase is long and frustrating. If you surge with dopamine all the time, your energy would be depleted when you really... Okay. So dopamine is something that is released in your body, especially when you achieve something. That's why to-do lists are great, these small little dopamine hits of achievement. Okay, but dopamine is also good for when you have like a meal that is just crazy good, that happy feeling about having that meal, like that's dopamine. Even sexual things, lust, that's dopamine. Okay, so basically, this happiness hormone is supposed to be triggered by certain events. And what we do is we watch Netflix series, we watch YouTube videos, we play video games, we listen to music constantly, and those are little spikes of dopamine, not a big surge of dopamine, just like little drops. It's like you have dopamine on an IV drip instead of as mass dosages like you're supposed to be getting it. All right, dopamine is also big in addiction. While it can be triggered through like drum beats from music, and like that's why you can feel really good when you hear amazing loud live music. Dopamine is also triggered when you drink large amounts of alcohol, when you take large amounts of drugs. That's why when someone who's addicted to heroin sees a needle, they have this reaction where now that they've seen it, man, they anticipate what's coming next. Dopamine is a huge deal. It's massive in your psychology, in your physiology, but we have it constantly going. We constantly have a stream of dopamine going so that it affects our whole lives. So what we end up with is not introvert or extrovert, but we have distraction as a personality type. And this messes up what we find interesting. For example, your sort of feel-good chemicals that roll around your head. Basically, if they're constantly triggered by always being distracted, by always watching something, by always listening to a podcast, by always scrolling through your phone is especially a big dopamine hit, scrolling through your phone. If you have this constant usage of these feel-good chemicals, when you don't feel as good interacting with people, when someone that you care about has something important to tell you, you've kind of used up your tank, if you will. You're kind of running on fumes when you were meant to enjoy certain human things. And the problem is, real relationships are a lot messier than the quick feel-good hits we can get from scrolling to the next video, from watching the next show, from listening to the next song, from listening to the next person's opinion on this current topic or that topic. So instead of actually maintaining and forming real, vital relationships, it's a lot easier to just drown yourself in music, in TV, in YouTube, in news that gets you frustrated, in alcohol, in substance abuse, in all sorts of things. It's easier to drown yourself in distractions that you've custom tailored to your liking than it is to actually have relationships and get involved in someone's life. Perhaps this kind of stuff and like what it truly means to be human has been on my mind more lately because of all these social distancing measures that have been going on for just about 2 months now here in Pennsylvania. But this time of forcing us into the modern technological creation that we've made really starts to make certain things make a lot more sense, and kind of helps you understand why we are living in such a terribly lonely generation. So instead of being involved in things that have actually made us human for thousands of years, we just create these technological substitutes. And I don't know that it's going to end well. So that's a lot of sort of rambling from my end, but I just want to ask, how are you letting distraction creep into your life? And how is what you're distracted by affecting the actual human endeavors that you are or are not taking part of in your real life? So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.